I watched my mind go between being really assured in God and then really fearful, and then really assured in God and then really fearful. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Limitless Conversations podcast. Welcome back. Yeah, I am your host and your favorite friend, Sean. You can find me at Authentically Sean on all social media platforms. And here on this podcast, we talk about expanding, growing, and being our best limitless self. I have invited you guys recently to kind of come into more of the stripped version of the podcast, right? We've been stripping this thing down. It's really raw, really just organic. And today I want to kind of tell a little bit of a story. I want to talk a little bit about the mind, how the mind's just a fertile ground. And really this conversation starts by I was going to something personally and I threaded because I don't tweet, but I am on threads, y'all. If y'all don't on threads, get on there because I be threading all the time. And it's at Limitless Conversations, by the way, same as the Instagram handle. But I was threading and I said if you were left something along the lines of if you were left alone with your mind, would you be safe? If you were left alone, yeah, okay, boom. I said if you were alone with only your thoughts, how safe would you be? That's what I threaded. And the reason this kind of came up for a few things. Let me tell you a little bit about the background, I guess. I had gone through something recently and initially when it happened, I felt good. I felt fine. I felt God's reassurance that everything was going to be okay, that this was the amount of days this would happen for, and that I would be okay. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. That works. All right, God. Just going to rest in what you said. And then I found myself with more time, having time to keep thinking about it and fixating on the thing that I was being asked to do or the time that I was being asked to sit down. And I started to dig back into past trauma, past fears, and then allowed that to start like it was trying to make me scared and fearful and go on the defense. And I watched my mind go between being really assured in God and then really fearful, and then really assured in God and then really fearful. And, I had been really thinking, like, I have been listening to a lot of stuff about Christianity. Now, I always say I'm not Christian, but I have allowed myself to explore recently what it is that I like about Christianity. And it's not that this is exclusive to Christianity, it is found in different religions, but I just happen to be following content that is Christian. So I'm able to see it through Christianity. I know it's in spirituality, but the thing that I have noticed about Christians, right, is they're like people who are hard Christian is that they kind of are sensitive to what they listen to, what they watch, what they intake, right? And you hear Christians often say, I rebuke it, I rebuke it. I was listening to a sermon and he was talking about it was Michael Todd, and it was his sermon about optimism. And he was talking about basically allowing negative thoughts and fears. And this, I was listening to this sermon while I was going through this, and he talked about letting negative thoughts and fears come into the house and basically get some room and board, right? Like you're letting your negative thoughts come into the house, lay nest there. And it's funny because through my spiritual journey, I have learned so much about the good and the bad and the ability to see the beauty in both things, right? So in my spiritual walk, I would have been like, well, it's okay that I feel a moment of sadness or hurt and pain and fear, and then it's okay that I feel good. And while that's true, though, what I have been being brought to recently, though, is what am I allowing to grow? Because while I do see the beauty in the darkness, and I can understand why it gets to exist here on earth and its purpose here, just because I understand it doesn't mean I have to let it in. And so through my journey recently of me exploring more in depth, or I should say updating what I think that spirituality will look like for me going forward, I have been really assessing what do I allow into my spirit to grow, to fertilize, right? What I have known about how I have lived life is that there is beauty in the light and in the darkness of life, that there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and at the same time, that doesn't mean because I understand that if it comes up that I don't have to let it lay roots there, right? I don't have to sit in the darkness. I don't have to allow it to breed. So while I was going through this situation where God kind of sat me down for a few days, I was having this internal battle of like the good, the bad, the good, the bad, feeling assured in God, feeling fearful, feeling assured in God, and feeling fearful. And every time I went into fear, I had to catch myself and say, hey, Sean, you cannot let these thoughts continue to breed, not because they're bad or not useful, but because what happens is if you do not catch this thought, fast enough, right? Then you will, because I know how energy works, you will really allow this to breathe. And also, it's not needed. Like in this season, you don't need to let this thought breed. You don't need to sit in this negative energy. You don't need to sit in fear, especially when God already told you the exact amount of time that this was going to be happening for, especially when God already reassured you what was going on. But there was something in me that wanted it, that wanted to like travel into that darkness, that wanted to let that grow. And as I feel like Christians would say, that's the devil, right? The devil's trying to trick your mind. And spiritually, I would have been like, that's just negative energy, right? And either way, the conclusion that I came to through this part of my journey was that I don't, just because I'm aware of the fact that darkness exists, right? If it is not a season that God has called me to sit in it, then it is that I don't need to explore it. If God has assured me of what's going on and that I'm going to be good and I'm okay and I don't need to have fear, then why am I allowing myself to sit in fear just because through self exploration and shadow work and all of these things, I told myself that it was good to explore those things. I'm coming out of that these days. I'm coming out of that in this season, right? This season it doesn't feel as needed, as necessary. And I'm not saying that it's never needed. I'm not saying that you won't never need it. I don't know where your journey's taking you, right? What I'm saying is from my journey though, I have done a lot of shadow work, a lot of understanding my darkness, a lot of understanding the darkness of the world and things like that. And in this place in my life, my priority is happiness. My priority is peace. My priority is joy. My priority is to be confident. My priority is to have faith and to believe in good things and great things for me. And so, if that is my priority, right? If that is my priority, then why would I allow anything else to come camp out in the house? Why would I? It just doesn't make sense because it doesn't fit for the goal. If the goal is to feel good, then why am I entertaining anything that doesn't feel good? Why am I allowing it to breed? And kind of how Michael Todd talked about it in the sermon, right? If my house, my temple, right, it's his house, and there's the guest of depression, fear, anxiety coming, I don't have to like welcome it into the house. I can step outside my door, talk to it, and see what's going on. How I've always expressed that in the past has been being the observer. Being sorry, let me say how I've always expressed it in the past is you can either be the observer or you can be the absorber. And so when fear comes up, I'm not going to absorb that fear as part of my identity. I'm not going to absorb it and take it in and say, I have to now live in it because I had an invitation to it. I used to tell my mom, hey, mom, you don't have to show up to every fight that you're invited to. Right. So this is that same kind of concept. Just because fear comes up doesn't mean you have to show up to it. Doesn't mean you have to give it room for it to grow. And so for me in this season, I'm like, I'm really not interested in letting fear grow. I'm really not interested in letting it, especially in this exact situation, in this exact season. I'm not really interested in it. Um, it's not feeling aligned for what I want. Right now I'm in a space where I want to, my desire is to fully go after my dreams, to fully pursue joy and bliss, to fully believe in myself and be confident in my mission and in my purpose. And so there's not really much room for fear here. Would it Beyonce say, none of my fears can go where I'm headed. I'm trying to get the, I'm on the floor on a, on the, I'm trying to get the rest, trying to get the part before it though. I don't know. But in the song she says, none of my fears can go where what is none of my fears can go where I'm headed. It's Black as King. Hold on. We go. Promise it's gonna bother me. I gotta get it. Promise my move forever. Promise my move forever and ever, ever and ever. Cause when we walk up in the club, we sit in some. No, that's after. We can look up to the sky. The tears we cry. I'm in the studio. The tears we cry. Let them know that we in love. Yeah, yeah. Uh, 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 uh. Yeah, I don't know. But just know she says none of my fears can't go where I'm headed, right? There's certain places that I'm trying to go where fear cannot breed. Fear and what do they say? Fear and faith can't exist at the same time. And so in my mind, I watched both exist. And so that's why I had tweeted or threaded that because it really made me curious to explore. And I wanted everyone to explore if you were left alone with your thoughts, if it was just you and your thoughts in your mind, how safe would you be there? How safe is your mind for you? Um, I really I really enjoy this. I've been challenging myself. I'm like, how safe is my mind? I'm like, and that's why I would like just sit in silence. Like today I just sat in silence and I just kind of fell asleep. And I was like, well, I guess I'm pretty secure. Okay. I guess I'm good because nothing is really like tormenting me. Because my mind just went, I was like, okay, think of nothing. I'm like, nothing, 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 sleep. Nothing, 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 sleep. But I do wonder how many people, friends, how many I do wonder how many people are tormented in their minds. I do wonder how many people don't have a safe space in their minds. I have watched people in my life run and run from the pain that they've experienced, and I know what it's like to have ran from the pain that I've experienced in my life. I know what it's like to have run from the feelings that I've had in my life. I know what that's like. I've seen it in me and I've seen it in others. And sometimes some people they drown in drugs. Some people they drown in binging TV shows. Some people drown in eating. Some people drown in so many different things to avoid this their head, to avoid being in their mind, to avoid being left alone with their thoughts. And I really am curious for you, the listener today, if you were left alone with your thoughts, what kind of breeding ground would it be? What kind of thoughts would come up? Would you be able to observe those thoughts and not absorb those thoughts? Would you be able to see those thoughts as almost like things outside of you and have a curiosity to them only to the extent to see how much you want to explore them? So in my journey recently, there was a curiosity to, why do I have this faith, right? I have this faith because of my relationship with God. I have this faith because of what God literally told me. I have this faith because of those things. And then, no, why do I have this fear? Oh, well, I have this fear because I went through something that looked kind of similar in the past. And that's why I'm having some fear come up. I'm having fear because society would tell me that this is a scary situation. I'm having fear because I have watched this. Oh, interesting. Oh, never connect that just now. Yeah, I'm having fear because I had seen this kind of storyline play out in my family before. So that's why the fear is there. That's why the faith is there. It's like, okay, being able to be confident and comfortable in your mind doesn't mean that you don't have negative thoughts. It just means that are you absorbing them as an identity, right? Are you absorbing your thoughts as who you are? Especially when they're not thoughts that you prefer to have, prefer to experience, or that are, let's not even talk about a preference. Let's more think about it in context of, is this thought pattern supporting the goal of where I'm trying to go? You know what I mean? There has been seasons where I have explored fear and I have explored anxiety and I have explored those things, and depending on what I wanted, what level of self exploration I was digging into at that time, it was needed, right? But for if the goal was to understand all these facets of me, well then cool, that was what I was doing. And then that in that season that was good. But because in this season, that's not really what I'm doing. I'm not exploring backwards. I'm exploring forwards. And exploring forward, that means that there is a goal. There is a point that is in front of me that um I don't know why vantage point is coming up, but there's something in front of me in this season. And so previously I did explore more negative dense feelings, and I love that. For me, I love that I did that, and that really did take me exploring a lot of my past. But in setting goals and moving towards a new version of me and a new life for me, and being more driven by I love this, being more driven by what I want to experience in my future than what I experienced in my past, means that I don't really want to explore that fear, because that fear is based in my past, but that fear is not based in where I'm going. And so, yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about today, and implore you to think about, like, how safe would your mind be if it was just you? If you were left alone with your thoughts, how safe would you be? And when you have feelings and you have emotions, are you absorbing those emotions as identity? Are you absorbing those emotions as things that have to stay? Or could you potentially see emotions as like invitations? As if it came with your name at the top. I mean, their name, the sender at the top, anger, and then to you, and it was an invitation, and you could check yes or no. Could you see the feelings as that? Do I need to explore this right now? What's the current goal for my life? Do I need to explore this right now? What's the current goal for my life? Does this feel good to experience? Am I looking good? Am I looking to feel good in this moment? And if I am, does this support that? You know what I mean? And so that's what the observer does. The observer just looks at the facts of the case. The observer just looks at what is, without judgment or anything, but it just simply looks at what is and makes a choice based on the observer looks actually doesn't make a choice. The observer is just to look at all things. So you're the one making the choice. I'm sorry, I'm thinking in my mind. You're the one that is making the choice, right? So there's you, and then there's the absorber who says that I have to take all of these things in, and then there is the observer who just looks at what is and doesn't have an attachment to it. And in this season, I'm really leaning into being the observer of things and using the observations to now dictate where I go and where I'm headed. And I have my goals of what I want to experience, right? And so the observer in me now just looks at it and say, hey, which one of these things, mm, which one of these envelopes here now supports where I'm going, where I want to go? So, yeah, that's it for today's episode. How do you guys like these? Kind of short, kind of sweet, kind of feeling it. But yeah, that's it, guys. I'm going to head out of here. I love you guys. Oh, let's talk about how I'm deciding to be limitless. I told you I'm so used to the stripped like not doing this. How oh, I love this. How are we deciding to be limitless today? I am deciding to be limitless by not allowing in this season negative feelings to come in and nest in my mind to create homes here to get settled in. I am seeing them, getting curious about them, and then allowing them to move on. Yeah. Well, that's it. If you guys love this conversation, make sure you follow the pod, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And yeah, all of my handles can be found in the description below. I love you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you next week. Bye.